When you say getting into everything, um, you're actually doing studies with people, with subjects. You're having people come in and you're actually doing studies.
Not yet, no. So this program is online right now. There's some classes that you can take in person if you're located in Ottawa. I haven't worked with people in person yet, other than doing my field work, which is where I went and did Iboga with my classmates and then wrote about it, which was a really cool experience. But no, for my practicum upcoming this spring slash summer, that's where I can do more hands-on work and have opportunities to go travel and work with people at ceremonies and in clinic settings, maybe.
Well, I know we had a brief discussion and we kind of brought up what got you into the field of study in the first place in psychedelics. Where did your interest start?
Yeah. So I'm 23 now. I just turned 23 about 2 weeks ago. But when I was 17, I did, and that was my first experience, almost my first time getting high in general. I only had smoked weed one time before doing that. So I jumped straight to LSD and had this mind-blowing experience that really turned my world upside down, brought me out of my shell, showed me that there was more than what I thought I was capable of, and the life that I kind of the bubble that I was putting myself in. So I really stepped outside my shell, and I got my first job. I started working at a retirement home. I had all this energy and all this drive to start doing things and actually make a change in the world. So I was like, wow, like how can I bring this energy, this experience, this sense of meaning, sense of purpose to other people? And that's what my mission's been since, to work in the field of psychedelics and see how I can do that.
I can say personally from my experience that my first time wasn't transformative because I was young. I was only, I think, 15 at the first time, and I actually fell asleep. The first, I had my buddy's mom came home and she shut the lights off and said, "You guys got to go to bed." And there I was in the dark. Um, but that was my first experience. And as I wasn't really able to measure that, I can say the second one I do recall, and it was more from that point on, there was a different consciousness, a different approach in how I saw other people and myself also relating with other people.
Hmm.
Um, did you feel that that kind of opened up something to drive you to get into the field of study your first experience?
Well, before that, I was already kind of interested in psychology. So I think this was when I was planning like college and what I wanted to study. So I was already leaning towards psychology. I've always been into like the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as a kid, I think I was like 9 years old, and I was into hypnosis and like the idea of hypnosis after watching YouTube videos. When I first discovered YouTube, I saw street performers doing hypnosis. They might have been faking it, but it was intriguing.
Right.
And then I was into magic at the same time. So um, I don't know. I don't know how that ties into psychology, but I was really into just illusions, the brain, the mystery of it all. So
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of already leaning to it. So I think, I don't know, maybe it was meant to be, but I think I would have found myself in the field of the psychedelics eventually. Um, Even if I didn't have that trip at 17, I feel like it would have come around eventually.
Yeah, I have a feeling that there's a shift, like you said, in psychological processes of integrating the old ways as far as how the medicine man and the shaman used to heal people, especially when they had traumatic events or something that you couldn't get to by just standard healing medicines or a conversation.
Right.
Would go towards something a little more spiritual,
Hmm.
and that's something that a lot of the reasons we're having these conversations is there is a commingling and a convergence of the old ways and science, which I consider the new ways. Um, Along that line, you brought up that you didn't have a real understanding of what psychology and magic had to do with each other. But then the magician is an archetype, right?
Yeah.
And the archetypes are very strong in all the Jungian psychology. He goes through the archetypes. But there's something that I've always noticed with Jung was that he definitely followed the line of the alchemists, of kind of the Rosicrucian, the Masons, their line of thought of following the esoteric kind of teachings in finding the self,
Mhm.
integrating the one out of the archetypes. Um, do you have any sense of that being something that plays a part in psychedelics?
I am not well versed in Jung, but interestingly, I remember him actually not being a huge fan of psychedelics. I don't know why. I don't know why he was opposed to it. Maybe he had his own experience and he just didn't like it, or
Uh-huh.
he felt like we could achieve that state without it. But I
Yes.
remember specifically he was not a fan of psychedelics.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that he wasn't a fan of psychedelics, but as far as being able to reach the same state through meditation and practices, I mean, he did himself say, basically in his practices, that there was a lot of imagining. And through the imaginative process of like taking a part of yourself and imagining that it was there and then giving it its own personality and then having a conversation with it seems
Hmm.
a little schizophrenic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
On purpose, right? So a lot of people thought he was going insane when he went to his dark night of the soul process. But it always has seemed to me that that's part of what happens naturally through psychedelics is there's a outside of yourself perspective, like you're viewing you from a third point. As
Mhm.
one of my friends said, is there's something in sociology that they talk about. You have how you see you, how you see that others see you, and then how you see others seeing you, and how that affects you from a third point.
Hmm.
And I've always felt that psychedelics kind of put you in that outside of yourself place where you see not only you, but your interactions with others, and then from your past and your future from a different perspective. And you're all of a sudden seeing it from an impersonal place.
Hmm.
And then sooner or later, you come back and you're like, oh, yeah, that is all me. You settle in. So, in practicing getting into usage of psychedelics with others as a tool, I know you're getting into these conversations with Andrew and Dev, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of the line of what they've been doing and working with the other people I've been speaking with is they've been doing retreats and stuff with like soldiers with PTSD and people who are trying to integrate trauma or just find peace within themselves or some sort of healing essence.
Yeah.
Have you come to a point where you're kind of working out plans for something like that?
Yeah. By plans for something like that, do you mean like working with the people? Can you elaborate on that before I answer?
Yeah, well, working with people with psychedelics with a reasoning of attempting to cause a different perspective,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think the psychedelics alone do a great job at creating that different perspective shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then we as guides serve as a safe space, and I try to be non-directive, so it's like I let the experience unfold, and just be like a helping hand if
Mm-hmm.
they refer back to us for help. But I've noticed that the psychedelics do most of the work, and we as guides, I shouldn't give myself too much credit because a lot of people they like to use the word healer, for example. I feel like if I'm helping someone through their experience, I don't like to call myself a healer because at the end of the day, they have to do the work.
Hmm.
It's not up to a shaman or a guide or a therapist to do the work. It's the patient. They always have to do the work. You can show them the way, but they have to go through the doors.
This is true. And that does kind of allude to what I always get back into is spirit.
Yeah.
The way that the shamans and the medicine said that things were truly operating in the spirit realm through them.
Yeah.
They were literally only being a conduit to spirit. And in those moments, they were holding space, as they say, for the embodiment of spirit and then guiding the person through their revelations or whatever they were going through. Um, what I keep finding is a lot of the experiences, they need to have check-ins afterwards because there's an integration process after these revelations,
That's a huge part of the process. Yep.
right?
And integration never ends too. Like, so we can have an experience, let's say last week, and then we're still processing things from that experience, maybe a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, or maybe it just takes a few months and then you get all the lessons you need. But sometimes, unexpectedly, something may happen a few years down the line, and then it's like, oh, that's what I needed to learn, and it all clicks back. So
Right.
integration never ends. We can have integration circles and and like monthly, weekly meetings to talk about it, but sometimes you just need to go back into life and then it'll click. You know the saying like before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it makes me think of. You
Yeah.
have to return
Everything
to your
doesn't
normal life.
completely change.
Yeah. And
Right.
it's really hard to integrate when you have this profound experience in like the jungle or in the desert, and then you have to go back to your office job, and then you're kind of reset back to the same environment. So a lot of people are stuck, and they might not get those lessons that they needed to hear or the message.
Mhm.
Um, and it's because they're just reverting back to the same environment. So they're never really breaking out of it. And a lot of people, they have to take the risks to break out. And that might mean end a relationship, quit your job. Well, that's a lot. I mean, we're integrating ancient practices into a very Western society. So it's
Mhm.
hard to just go back.
Agreed. Yeah, one big thing that I wonder is before your experience, did you have any kind of spiritual background? Did you see yourself as a intuitive, spiritual type person before your experience?
As a kid, I was really into that stuff. I mean, my mom, she went to like psychic communities in Lilydale. She taught me a lot of um like cool techniques as a kid. I remember doing like meditation things with her, trying to guess like what color Skittle or M&M she was holding, just like practicing intuition like that.
Hmm.
And that kind of died down. I stopped doing that in my teen years. And I think taking LSD kind of revived that in a sense and brought back that mystery or um, yeah, the mystery that there can be more. There's a sixth sense. Maybe we have like superpowers, if you want to call it, that
Uh-huh.
all humans have, I think. I like to think. I mean, we evolved from animals, and animals, they communicate non-verbally all the time. I'm sure we can tap into telekinesis and telepathy and all sorts of cool things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've found that that's an aspect to healers is having that open channel to people and being able to feel in essence or have that telepathic sense of connectivity to when they say hold space, it's a lot more than just words, right? It's also a empathetic feeling of what they're going through and then reacting and giving them feeling of you're okay or you need to let go of that, and knowing to say that
Mm-hmm.
because they're not saying it, but you're feeling what they're going through.
Right. And I
That
think,
is the essence of what I think is unlocked
yep.
during psychedelics.
Right. And that's why it's super important that for these people who are trying to get in the space, guides, facilitators, people who are neo shamans, whatever you want to call them, whatever they want to call themselves, it's
Mhm.
important that they've had these experiences because I've met people doing psychedelic psychotherapy and they are like, I've never done a psychedelic before. I'm like, why are you in this space? Like, that's
Mhm.
that's concerning.
Yeah, it is. If you have no idea what they're going through and can't relate, then how do you know where they are? And
Hmm.
that doesn't seem to be of any help to somebody if you're trying to help them. And
Exactly.
that's a huge thing of so I did look into your presentation that you did, and that was very cool.
Oh, thank you.
We were talking about how there's performance enhancement in the physicality of the body under certain psychoactive properties, say.
Hmm.
You want to go into that at all?
Yeah, so psychedelics right now are being researched for chronic pain. And I believe the properties they're anti-inflammatory, anti-nociceptive, which is pain modulating. So I think that can also be applied to other pain, not just chronic pain. I mean, chronic pain is the worst kind of pain, right? But if it's
Right.
dealing with chronic pain, which is all the way up here, surely it can help with the pain that's all the way down here. So my research was looking into athletics and sports context with psychedelic use. And so it's reducing people's fatigue. They're claiming they can run faster and for longer periods. And they're just the part of their brain that usually tells them they're tired completely shuts off. So that's what I was finding in the accounts of what people were reporting.
Right. And it goes both ways though. Like, so I've had that experience of the body should tell me to stop because I'm in danger of overheating or I'm pushing myself too far,
Yeah.
like a racehorse who can run itself to death. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's important to have that off switch of, ouch, this hurts at
Mm-hmm.
some point. And that seems to be kind of the importance of micro dosing, right? Like finding the right amount.
Mm-hmm. That sweet spot. Yep.
Hmm. So, one that I keep hearing of that I don't have pretty much any knowledge of, just a few stories, is
Mm.
what is it? Where does it come from?
So the root bark of, I believe, is the psychoactive part. And it's found in I might be saying this wrong, Gabon, Gabon, Africa. And the tribes there have used it for, I think, not too long. It's a pretty recent thing. We can't trace it back that far compared to other substances like um, use. And
Mhm.
ayahuasca is not even that old as far as we know. But it's pretty recent and it only grows there, I believe. Um, it's being used in higher doses, macro doses for opioid use disorder.
Mhm.
And it's super effective. I mean, the most conservative states in the United States, like Texas, just threw $50 million to research it. So that's got to say
Really?
something. Yeah.
It does. I mean, from what I've heard, the effects are something along the lines of being able to control your inner mind's eye, in a sense, to guide you through your inner emotional journey. And it acts almost as a guide that listens to you.
Hmm.
It was described to me this way, that it's very reactive to your asking. Say,
Hmm.
show me this, or can I explore this more, or can you shut this down, and could you shut these other people out and focus just on me, like to that degree of reaction directly to what you're asking it to do.
Hmm.
And that just seemed wild to me. Like, I've only done psychedelics that, hey, here you go. Hey, you're going for a ride.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's good. You know, usually it is, as long as the space is good and the energy is good and you're in a good place, then it goes well. Um, I want to say that's probably true to most psychedelics, but the really sounded very, very much, if you take charge, it will follow your lead.
Mm,
And if you just let it go, then it's going to take you for a ride. Good luck.
mm,
And that was pretty much the description of it to me. Was it can be very powerful if guided. Left to its own devices, and you're just going to, let's go, let's see what happens. Oh, you're going to find out what happens. It
no.
can be very, very wild ride.
I've
So
heard
go for it.
a lot of mixed things about it, and I feel like we just don't know enough yet, because a lot of this research is still early.
Mhm.
Um, I've heard that it's like a life review where it walks you through your life, kind of like in a waking dream state
Mhm.
almost. I've also heard that compared to, let's, it's actually more mellow, on intensity, but it does last longer.
Uh,
Yeah, so it's a really long trip, but it's more chill. Whereas it's just like, but also might depend on the dosing that these clinics or and retreats are giving people. It might change because even from one ceremony to another, like they're gonna give you a completely different dose, have a completely different brew. So I don't know if they figured out like a standardized dosing for. I'm not too
mhm.
sure if they do it by weight or if it's standard just per person, like they do with MDMA. They don't do that by weight. So yeah, I'm not too versed in. I really want to try it. It's really cool,
Mhm.
just not accessible, and it's you have to have a very good container to do it in because it'll just last so long, and it's actually cardiotoxic. So there have been quite a few deaths from, and I don't know if that's because a lot of the people they're treating were opioid addicts or taking other drugs, and maybe their heart was already in a bad condition.
Right.
But we found cardiotoxic effects, and people have died, so it's not something to be taken lightly at all.
Yeah, that's definitely not. And it did sound like there can be some extreme fear responses. I mean, like I said, if you're not controlled
Mm,
in your journey, then it can get away from you. You know,
yeah.
I had that experience a few times on different substances. Um, so you said Iboga was a recent experience for you.
Yeah. I
You
did
want
it
to
for the
share?
first time in October, so it's been about almost 6 months now. Yeah. It was not my first time with, but it was my first time with. Um, so this was for class.
Okay.
Crazy to say that I got high for a class and it was graded in a way because I wrote an essay about it. Um,
Nice.
but I went with my classmates. I think there was about maybe like 10 of us. Um, and rough split, maybe like 5 men, 5 women. And it was a Santo Daime retreat, 2 day retreat. In a basement of a Catholic church located in Montreal. Not the best setting. The hospital aren't not the lights felt like hospital lights. Like they were kind of like white and it wasn't warm feeling at all. I was like, I don't like the lighting in here. And we were
Right.
sitting in these metal chairs, like classroom chairs in a circle. So there's like a small circle with the people playing instruments and another circle of the guardians. That's what they call the members of the Santo Daime Church there. And then
Okay.
another circle with us, the visitors. And so we sat in those chairs for probably 10 hours on the first day, with like short breaks, just singing and like reading verses and hymns. And it was just like very tiring. They call it work, and it surely felt like work. It was a lot.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But was it effective?
For me, I had more of a mild experience, especially on the first day. Because I've been exposed to and I feel like smoking was way more intense visually, and I
Mhm.
was able to actually like almost go places. Like when I closed my eyes on after I smoked it, it's almost like they opened up somewhere else, and I was able to like almost navigate a room or a space. On it was very mild. I think they gave us a more mild dose, and because it's through a master's program, think they partnered with a church that wasn't going to like harm us, so they were already doing mild doses, or maybe they adjusted it specifically for us. It
Right.
wasn't like specific doses; they were just pouring it in a cup. So maybe they just gave us less. I don't know. Um,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't too crazy for me. There were two classmates actually who had never done any psychedelic before, and they had a great time. So it was cool hearing about their experiences and living through them because I remember my first psychedelic experience, and I was like, wow, I can't imagine doing my first time ever. Like, that's a trip.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one that I have not experienced, but I've heard that there's a very specific spirit to it
Mm-hmm.
and that it can be something that sticks with you long term.
Hmm.
Like that
Interesting.
it can come visit you in your dreams and be something that is a guide in a sense, as the shamans would say that you on your journey you find guides that help you through your spiritual journey and they teach you, and that is a very specific guide that you can find that will help you.
Hmm.
Going on, but that's one that I definitely have not experienced either. Something that is to come eventually for sure.
Yeah, when the time is ready, you know how psychedelics work. They come when the time is ready. They'll present themselves when the time is ready. Um, I can see the thing about the spirit. It definitely felt like a motherly spirit. The nickname is like Grandmother Aya. Um, so a lot of people were reporting the same thing, this feminine spirit, which I think is interesting because we all report similar experiences on one drug, even people who are in different places and haven't spoken to each other. Um, and I think uh, the cacti are the grandfather spirits, and I think is also considered a grandfather spirit as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are definitely spirits attached to the different psychedelics, as you kind of allude to. Just
Mhm.
like any substance, I had a discussion with a lady about how the emotions and feelings are vibratory, but the
Mhm.
vibrations themselves seem to be, in essence, attached to what, again, would be the archetypes, right?
Mhm.
Like the archetypes are the spirits. And when we're talking about feeling things, it's our commingling with those different spirits, is what we're explaining. And then the different substances are the attachments to them. They give us that strong attachment to experience it. It's kind of
Mhm.
a little bit of
Yeah,
my
one interesting thing that comes to mind when people talk about spirits associated with certain plant medicines is what about all the experiences where people were taking synthetic psychedelics and are reporting interacting with spirits or entities, whatever you want to call them? Like people have experiences where they meet God or their higher self or other entities. And even here's a fun fact. So Maria Sabina, she was given synthetics and she's like, these are the same spirits that come to me on magic mushrooms, the natural homegrown. So I don't know if it's so much spirit, but maybe the psychedelics themselves are allowing our brain to sort of tap into the frequency, um, regardless of whether it was grown naturally or made in a lab.
right. It's vibratory, just like the
Yep.
whole universe is vibratory, whether it be light, sound, it's all frequency and vibration, as Tesla alluded to.
Yep. I
And
agree.
the different frequencies and vibrations are almost, what do they say? Like Metatron, right? Is the one who basically caused all shapes and whatnot, is the Lord of creation of things, right? And shapes. But if everything's vibratory, it almost does say that unlocking those vibrations, each one has a different light, a different essence, a different feeling. And
Hmm.
we humans trying to decipher things, we like to give names to them and separate them and get the parts and the pieces.
Yeah.
I think that's where we come up with the gods and these things, you know. But I too have come to a sense of the left and the right hand of God. It's all one thing.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, again, what the esoterics and the old Rosicrucian beliefs and stuff were going into the same thing as alchemy. It's all a dissolution of the many into the one, because
Hmm.
it truly is only the one. That's all there really is that
Right.
singular consciousness that we're all fractals of. We're
Hmm.
just experiencing it from our own facet, as my buddy Baco likes to say.
Mm.
We're all seeing it from our own facet, but it's all from the same diamond,
Yep.
different view. So how about,
What about it?
where does that fit in your planned studies?
In terms of the research I did, or
Yeah, in terms of the research.
yeah, so in terms of sports performance, people were microdosing it a lot. But he was super overrepresented in my data, which makes sense because it is kind of a stimulant, so it gives you the energy that you need to perform.
Right. Not so much. You may just lay back and have your entire sit down, and it's all in your head. It
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more of an emotional substance, and it kind of takes you where it wants the journey to go, whereas LSD, I feel like there's a little bit more leeway for you to control the experience.
Very much. And I've had a lot of different experiences on it, and something I brought up to a friend of mine is, I wonder what makes so many different experiences out of one compound. Because I
Yeah.
mean, when somebody said it was Mad Hatter, it was a very visual and everything was wavy and colorful. But then Map was very, everything fractaled, and there were more patterns going on. There was less color and waving, and it more fractal, like I said.
Yeah, sharper images.
Yeah, so many different variations, and what kind of hit me was, is that spagyrics, you know, is the maker, is their consciousness actually having an effect on what they're creating?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I had trouble understanding why one person creating a chemical compound would be so much different each time, but when one person's making it, it's the same every time. How does
Hmm.
that work?
Yeah, I think it also depends on the people and how good their science is.
Mm,
Because purity we're finding across different synthetics, I mean, it varies so much. We've all had the psychedelics that don't do anything, and we've had the ones that completely blast us out of this world, but they were marketed as the same dose. So
right.
it's a little bit of just bad science. Maybe they're using different materials. I mean, when you look at, let's say, for example, we've seen all sorts of colors. There's purple, amber, brown, white. So Yeah, I think that's what makes up a lot of the different experiences as well, just the potency.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, there's an aspect to that, but there's this whole science that I was having a conversation with this lady Josie about in spagyrics of people imbuing their intent into the salt crystalline form of
Mm,
plants to cause medicines,
mm,
and their intentions being willed into the crystalline formations actually makes it a stronger healing essence. And that kind of bled into a lot of things for me where I'm like, I do understand causation of effect from a physics point of view of
yeah.
the observer effect, right? I mean, when matter is observed by one person solely, they see one thing on an atomic level, where another person observes it and they see something completely different. And that's the
Mm,
observer effect, right? But then when you're dealing with creation of things, could that not be also something that's going on of there's an essence of the person who is the creator in the creation?
mm. Yeah, no, I think I completely understand that. I mean, where focus goes, energy flows, and in Reiki, I'm on Reiki level 2 right now. We practice clearing energy from things and
Uh-huh.
sending energy to things. So there's intent, and I think if someone really loves the medicine that they're growing,
Mm-hmm.
or synthesizing, and they put that love into it, you'll feel it. I mean, we say it all the time jokingly. People who haven't done psychedelics say it all the time. Oh, this food was made with love. You can taste it. Um,
Yes. Yes.
but like it can be applied to other things too, not just food. And I think it also works in the way if you're making something with love, you also pay attention to the details. So you do get those processes right when you're adding different chemicals together and getting the purity or whatever, or just growing a plant and just giving
Yes.
it the energy that it needs to be nourished and grow tall and strong.
Yes. I've noticed that in growing, not myself, but past friends and people that I've known growing marijuana plants,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and they're talking to them and rubbing the stems and stuff and putting all this attention
Yep.
and energy into it, and yeah, it definitely has an effect.
Yep.
But
I
then
agree.
there is, like you said, in
Yeah.
food, like that movie, I think it's Water for Chocolate or something, where the daughter, when she cooks, if she's sad, everybody eats the food and then they all get sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that essence, right?
Yeah. I grew cannabis last year and my plants got 9 feet tall. So they're more like trees, cannabis
Uh-huh.
trees.
Wow.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
huge. They couldn't even stand up anymore. They were so tall, they were just completely sideways. It was just
Right.
too much. Yeah, but I was checking on them all the time and um giving them a lot of attention. And when I first grew, before that, a different time, different season, my plant only got 3 feet tall, and that's because I went away for college and I had other people take care of it, so I wasn't giving it the attention it needed. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's definitely the where focus goes, energy flows, and the intention
Absolutely.
and love behind the yeah, it just brings meaning to things.
It definitely does. And that's, again, getting into that beginning point of healing with psychedelics
Yeah.
and being a person who holds space and being with the person who you are intending to heal and guiding them on their journey and their trust for you, and having that intuitive sense of where they are and
Mhm.
where they need to go, even though you don't really know where they've been,
Yeah.
but you can feel what they're going through and where they need to go through spirit. That's how what
Yeah.
I call it. Now, is it spirit or is it the collective consciousness that we're tapping into and we just have a better connection? That's the part that I keep feeling like this is kind of the area of research.
Mm,
This is one part of, yes, the healer heals. Yes, the person who needs to have the healing, it goes through their process of awakening and embodiment. But a lot of people, like I think yourself, are getting into the study of writing what the experience is about.
mhm,
And the more I have these conversations, the more it's kind of gelling for me that that is kind of the essence of what needs to be figured out is how does the healer know what needs to happen and what is happening for that person? Is it a psychic connection, or are they literally having a neuro connection through the electromagnetic fields of each other, like sharing that bond? And
mm,
there's some sort of neurological connection that happens.
mm. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I just read, I think it was Johns Hopkins that just did a study analyzing the effect of the therapeutic relationship, and they actually found that it didn't have a significant effect on the outcomes. Um, but the mystical experience itself and the intensity of that had the therapeutic effect because initially we thought, let's say in therapy in general, that therapy is effective based on the relationship that you build with a therapist.
Mhm.
So if you find a therapist that you don't click with, they're performing the same type of therapy on you, but you just don't click with them. You're not going to get the same healing that you would get with someone who you completely vibe with.
Right,
With this flip that over, it said, well, the relationship doesn't matter at all. It's the psychedelic.
right. It's the psychedelic, but it's where you go in it,
Mm,
right? Because
yeah,
I've just had trips, and it was whatever, and some of them were not so great.
yeah.
uh, and having that intentionality, like I've had these conversations with quite a few people now, and another thing about the healing aspect is intentionality of having a purposeful journey
Mm,
before you go, knowing what you're asking for
right.
before you go, because it can't just be for fun, which that's what I did as a kid. It was just, woo, let's go, yeah, party time.
Yeah.
Not taking it seriously. As in my older age now, I'm looking at it more as a tool,
Yeah.
not recreation. That
Yeah.
sounds like along the lines where you're headed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think intentionality is huge. Sometimes I want a therapeutic effect when I'm taking it for medicinal purposes rather than recreation, but I don't have questions that need to be answered. Like, I don't know what questions to ask, but the fact that I know something is wrong or I want to be better, don't know what in or what aspects, but the intention that I still want something out of this brings something eventually, and then it'll show you, um, whether you have questions or not, it'll show you.
Right, it definitely does. It wakes something up inside.
Hmm.
um,
Always.
the I had an essence of past life integration
Mm,
myself. I really did have an awakening of some connections to past life experiences. Seemed to just wake up during my experience. Some things that didn't make sense of why I went through things in my life now
mm,
clicked as to, oh, now it makes sense because I got these tattoos and I didn't even understand what they meant or why,
yeah.
but all of a sudden the clarity came. Oh, okay, it makes absolute sense all of a sudden
Mm.
because there was some integration of something in the past. I don't know. Do you believe in past lives?
I believe that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and if that means that we become one with everything once we die and we go back into the soil and into the air and the water and whatever else. I think reincarnation can work like that, yeah.
Yeah, I was curious if you had any kind of experience like that on the T or anything. No.
Not past lives, no, that sounds really cool. I have not gotten to that part yet. But that would be really cool if that gets brought up eventually. Yeah.
That one was from the
Oh,
toad medicine. That one is where that came from, and it was sudden. It was absolutely like I said, it just all of a sudden coalesced as a knowing,
mm,
and it really came clear, and I understood all of a sudden something that I think a lot of people call witch wounds.
mm,
Where you've had past life persecutions or different things that are repressing your ability to express certain parts of yourself in this life because of past life.
mm.
And that ability that you learned back in a different existence is still within you, and you still have that knowledge. And I think a lot of us, we call that intuition.
Yeah.
It's that connection to what you already know, but you're not sure how you know it.
Right. Yeah. That makes
That's
sense.
that's another one of these things that I think psychedelics opens, is that pathway to what you already know, or the Akashic records, I've heard it called as well,
Yeah.
the all knowing of human knowledge, I guess, or experience in the past. You ever
I
have
don't
that essence on psychedelics?
I don't even know if it's just limited to human knowledge. I mean, just the universe's knowledge. I mean, it's so vast. And who says that we only reincarnate as humans? Maybe we reincarnate on different planets. So, that's getting into a completely different realm, but yeah, it's some wild stuff, for sure.
Yeah, no, I liked where you're going with that, and
Yeah.
I've actually had somebody else bring that very thought up. Was the aliens are not necessarily so alien.
Mm-hmm.
We're all part of consciousness.
Yep.
So the degrees of separation are few.
Yeah. Yep. And then maybe the aliens are what we see, or the entities that we see that we might attribute to being ghosts or dead humans. Maybe they're not humans at all. Maybe they belong to a completely different dimension and they're able to come through because
Mhm.
altering our brain waves to be able to tap into them. Kind of like an antenna tuning into different radio signals.
It's what the shaman called the inorganic beings,
Hmm.
right? Recently did a ceremony.
Oh, cool.
And after that ceremony, I've noticed seeing out of my peripheral lights or dark shadows or light beings, like just walking by, just keep catching my eye out of nowhere. And I'm very aware of it,
Hmm.
because it is as if some vibrational essence I'm able to perceive a little more clearly, like I'm more open to it.
Yeah.
The mind does filter what may not serve us. It's
Hmm.
definitely preferential on vision for what is going to serve you for survival, and does a lot of filtering. But you hear about psychics and people who can see spirits and see ghosts and stuff. And I think it is very much, again, that facet, turning for you and turning on those different frequencies for you over time. But that was one that just recently happened. I'm still integrating that experience because it was only a couple weeks ago, and it's still opening doors for sure. As you said, some things never stop. It's a constant integration afterwards, right?
Right. Would you say I'm not too familiar with Um, would you say it was psychedelic in nature?
Not so much. No. It was. There was sort of like a veil of you know how when you get ill, right?
Mm.
Like you have a cold
Yeah.
and you kind of feel like you're in the background in a sense, like
Mm.
there you have that sense of you're not 100% there, like you're daydreaming a little bit.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
conscious, but on the edge, like the veil is slightly thin.
Mm.
So it wasn't psychedelic so much. And although I did get the illness and whatnot and purged some, there was some synchronistic things that happened with just meetings with family members out of nowhere that I haven't seen for a long time, and awareness of shadow aspects of my own daily life, of things that I was projecting, and
Mm.
it became very clear to me. And it was very in my face that I had to behave in a different way and face what was troubling me from a different angle.
Interesting.
And it was complicated. I didn't like it. I didn't want to, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't like that guy and I don't want to be nice. I like not liking him, you
Yeah.
know. But now I have to look at him in a different light and say what I'm not liking about him is actually aspects of myself that I've thrown to the side.
Yeah.
And since I don't deal with that part of me anymore, it really bothers me seeing it in him.
Yeah.
Or that's getting back into Jungian psychology,
Yeah.
but it more like put that into, okay, you're going to deal with this,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
Yep.
And
The world's a giant mirror.
that was a surprise. I didn't expect that out of a, ceremony to force that on me.
Yeah. That's
Where,
cool. I haven't heard any stories about in that aspect at all. Like I don't hear much other than the purging. No one's really told me about any insight they've had from it, so that's cool.
yeah, it was different in that I didn't feel like sharing it. I didn't feel like it's still kind of elusive in a way where like it is kind of like trying to explain what it is inside of a dream. It
Yeah.
has that ethereal essence to what its effect is, that it kind of stays on the outside of being able to be explained. You can feel it going on. And if I hadn't had so much deep dive into shadow work, I don't know that I would be able to. I probably wouldn't be able to describe what I am going through from it
Yeah.
if I hadn't touched on shadow work so deeply,
Mm.
because that's exactly kind of what it feels like. Is the effects aren't something that want to be shared. It's a dirty, like puking, and I didn't have any bowel purging, but vomiting up stuff and then just feeling a certain release of clarity, but also like the dirtier, darker part of me. I'm like, we're gonna hang out again, but not where you're in charge and you get to do whatever you want, but you're coming with me again. And I'm
Mm.
like, it feels weird.
Yeah.
It still does, but I'm noticing it in my interactions for sure.
This is the one where they like peel your skin a bit and then stick you with the poison or the toxin, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh, you got four.
yeah,
And do they scar forever? It scars, right? And bubbles up.
yeah, it's gonna scar forever. You definitely are gonna wear them forever, kind of
It's
thing.
cool
And
though.
you can put them wherever, but
Yeah.
you know, the guy that I did it with, basically he did it from tribal essence, and the tribe's thought is you start there and you work toward the heart, start to
Oh,
the other side, work to the heart, and then you go around the heart. And then
interesting.
there's a symbol that you make if you do it to the degree that that tribe was, their process. Uh,
Interesting.
Definitely for me, I didn't have the horrible experience a lot of people have said, super sick and ill, but I'm pretty healthy. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm clean
Yeah.
living. And like I said, shadow work has been something I've been going on. So trying to integrate. So I don't feel the need to keep going with it. I experienced it. I don't think there's going to be a, okay, I did that and it's over. I think it's going to hang with me the effect of what it caused. It already caused for me.
So it seems like it brought up a decent amount. What do you think about places that combine other psychedelics, and then put like Kambo before or after that? Do you think that's too much?
I wouldn't know because from what I've heard from everybody else that has done that, they were doing it for a cleansing of toxins like viral, things that they couldn't get out of themselves with modern medicine.
Yeah.
And that's typically what I'm hearing Kambo is used for in the Western society is to truly cleanse out illnesses that modern medicine isn't able to cleanse out of them, right?
Okay.
Like it's been said that it could be a possible like one of the only known cures for herpes.
Oh, really?
Okay, that's
That's
crazy,
interesting.
right?
I've never heard of
Um,
that.
yeah, that's one of the things I was researching, looking into it, and that's one of the things that popped up. I was like, okay, that's wild. I thought that was incurable, but
Yeah.
very cool. But a lot of reasons people do it, but one of them is definitely that spiritual aspect. I think from the tribal sense, I think
Mm.
they understood it as an integrating process because they caused their children as a rite of passage to do it for the warrior society kind of way, right? It was part of their integration process. But then
Mm.
they would give it to their kids. If the kid was getting ill or had something wrong with them, they'd cleanse them out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And a lot of tribes, and these indigenous groups, I mean, they initiate children from young ages, even with psychedelics. But
Mhm.
if we brought up the idea of treating a teenager, let's say like 15, 16-year-old dealing with suicidality and depression with a psychedelic, it's like, oh no, like we can't do that, but maybe we should. Like maybe we
Give them
should.
Prozac and watch them
Yeah.
unalive themselves. Yeah, that's the process today doesn't make sense in a lot of ways with modern medicine.
Yeah, it's sad.
But it has to be studied and proven,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
One of the ones that got me was the tribes using as a rite of passage. The plant.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of tribes that have done that. And that's a scary one for a
I
lot of.
mean, people never come back. They see
Yeah.
shadows for life.
Oh, wow.
That's it's
Yeah.
something that grows everywhere here where I live. And the people that have done it are literally clinically insane for life.
Oh, wow.
But there were tribes using it forever in some form or another
Yeah.
that was their rite of passage. It was like, well, they figured something out to dose properly or something.
Yeah, the dosing, I actually did a project on recently. So there's a variation like of a 5-to-1 ratio of the alkaloids that are in the seeds. So it's very hard to dose. Like you have to have equipment, and most people taking the drugs aren't gonna, have the equipment to be able to see exactly what the alkaloids are in there and how much are in there. So people have horror stories, and I don't know if you've read the stories online. I've read like dozens of them. People literally get arrested. They go to the hospital because they take 200, 100 seeds and then they forget what happened, and then 3 days later, everyone's telling them what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the zombie drug, right?
Yeah.
They're able to powder it and blow it in somebody's face, and then all of a sudden they're a zombie and they'll do whatever they're told to do
Yep. Hmm.
willingly. And that
Yep.
is so scary. But it goes to the power and horror of plants, the strength as a medicine, but also the power to do harm.
Right.
It was a powerful thing to dabble in. But this is another reason why study, right? You
Yeah,
have to
there's not a whole lot of research on at all. From the research that I did, there wasn't enough. Like, interestingly, people also have like this shared hallucination. So, like on DMT, a lot of people who have never talked to each other, never heard about DMT, will say like, "I saw the machine elves," or this or that, and it would be the same across different groups of people that have never talked to each other. For there's the common hallucination of phantom smoking, where people are smoking invisible cigarettes, and these people may have never smoked a cigarette in their life. They're not smokers, and they're all hallucinating smoking phantom cigarettes.
really,
Yeah, so there's this video where these two boys get arrested, and it's on YouTube. They're in police custody, and the police are trying to talk to them, and then they're like completely out of it. And then one of them starts smoking, and then he passes it to the other one. There's no cigarette. He passes it, and the other one takes it, smokes it, ashes it, passes it back. It's crazy. It's honestly insane. It
really,
all these questions of shared hallucinations, and maybe the cigarette is real to them in some dimension or some capacity, because how are they both hallucinating the same thing?
yes.
It's so wild.
It very much goes back to that. Some substances cause you to be able to have a shared neurological connection.
Hmm. And I don't know if we'll truly understand that. Like with the scope of the Western scientific framework and using the scientific method, it can only capture so much. So we're trying our best to answer the questions relating to the paranormal entities, but it just isn't set up to answer those questions. And the indigenous people who have used these medicines for thousands and hundreds of years, they know they don't need the science to tell them what's true. They've experienced it. And so it's finding the bridge where we can bridge Western science and understanding with the old ancient ways of knowing. And no matter how hard we try, I don't think we're going to be able to capture that with our framework. And sometimes that's okay. Like you don't have to prove everything with science. Like
Right.
it's not going to happen. We're not going to have all the answers to all of our questions. And we just have to be okay with that.
With that, because I think we should close pretty soon here.
Yeah.
But with that, would you say that there is a convergence, almost a integration of the two worlds going on of science and spirit? Because, like you said, science doesn't have to prove and can't prove spiritual aspects of existence.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we are seemingly coming to a point where science is having to admit that there are spiritual aspects that it cannot prove but are necessary to cause certain existence of things.
Yeah. I think scientists are coming around, especially ones in the psychedelic field. I mean, they have had these experiences, so no wonder there's research and studies about people seeing entities and how many people on DMT have reported seeing entities. Like, only a scientist would conduct that study if they had that experience themselves. Um, and there's, I believe it's the Institute of Noetic Sciences. They do research on like telepathy and dreams, really cool stuff, psychic abilities, ESP.
Mhm.
So we're getting there, but we can only prove so much. So some things are just we're never gonna fully know, but that's okay because when you have that gnosis, that knowing, that inner knowing, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. You don't need the numbers on the paper. Like you just know, and that's fulfilling enough.
It's truth. That's truth. Well, I think we've had a really cool conversation,
Yeah.
Zane. Um, we're going to be having joint conversations soon. And I would
Okay.
definitely, whenever we have some of these joint conversations, I would like to reach out to you and invite you to have, once we have, I try to do 3 people max at a time. a good group, we can go ahead and reach out and set something up so we can have a group conversation.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm looking
Heck
forward
yeah.
to it.
Heck yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation. I know it's late where you are.
Yeah. Thank you. Likewise. Thank you for inviting me to do this. I really enjoyed it.
Very cool. Well, you have a good night.
You too. Take care.
All right.
Strange reality.